Okay, so if you look at the whole modern dating thing, relationships, it feels like you're getting pulled in, I don't know, a dozen different directions, doesn't it?
Yeah.
You've got clinical science saying one thing, there may be some pretty bold psychological theories saying the exact opposite.
Definitely confusing.
Right. Like, should you be focusing on your bank account, your feelings, getting ripped, or like your inner game? It's a lot.
That confusion is exactly what we want to tackle in this deep dive. We've gathered material from two quite different, but, authoritative voices.
Okay.
One's a psychologist, works with really high-end clients, think high-stakes relationship stuff. The other is a urologist and men's health expert, focusing more on the vitality, the intimacy side. So our mission today is really to blend these viewpoints, to try and build a more holistic blueprint, a guide maybe for attraction, connection, and yes, some self-improvement that might not always be comfortable.
That's a really interesting mix of sources. So we're hitting 4 main areas today, is that right? Because you kind of need all of them to work together.
Exactly. 4 key parts.
Okay, so first up is the groundwork. Building this holistic high value.
Yeah, the foundation. Then we'll jump into attraction, but also, crucially, vetting partners. How you choose.
Right, vetting, important.
Then number 3, we get into the dynamics, conflict, how relationships actually work day to day. That's often where things go sideways.
Yeah, tell me about it. And finally.
And we finish with the science of intimacy. Sexual health. Some surprising stuff in there.
Okay, sounds good. Let's dive in. Let's unpack this foundation first.
All right. So the absolute starting point, like across the board from both sources, is self-mastery.
Self-mastery.
Yeah. The psychologist is super clear on this. Relationship success. It's basically tied directly to your self-esteem, your self-respect. You need to be holistically high value.
Holistically. Okay. So high value isn't just, the fancy car or the big job title.
Yeah.
What does holistic actually mean? Like, practically, day to day? Because we usually think self-control is just for, work goals.
Well, it means that self-control can't just stop when you leave the office. You can be incredibly disciplined at work, but then totally erratic or impulsive in your personal life. The sources really hammer this home. The real source of high value is self-control. It's resisting those impulses. Maybe excessive drinking, maybe constantly needing distractions, maybe cheating.
Okay, so how does resisting, say, another drink actually build self-respect inside? Can you connect those dots?
Yeah, it's like it adds up over time. Every time you face a choice, right, an impulse that might feel good now but screws over your future self.
Like skipping the gym again.
Exactly, or letting someone talk to you disrespectfully and just letting it slide. When you choose not to do that, when you exercise self-control instead, that's like an internal win. You gain a little bit of self-respect. And that builds on itself, creating this really solid foundation of self-esteem that isn't dependent on, what other people think.
That's a really strong internal loop. And here's something interesting for you listening. Real confidence, according to these sources, it means being authentic without needing, external boosts.
Right.
They specifically warn against using stuff like alcohol to boost yourself. The point is, that just masks your actual sober self and, it dulls your ability to be genuinely confident when it counts.
Yeah, absolutely. And that idea of self-accountability ties straight into some pretty blunt advice about physical health we saw.
Oh, yeah.
If a guy's feeling down, maybe overweight, the psychologist's take was quite direct. You need a PT, not a psychologist.
Well, okay, fix the body first.
Pretty much. Get your training, nutrition, diet, sleep sorted out first. Because confidence, attractiveness, they're really propped up by these physical things.
It's really pragmatic, isn't it? No deep dives into your childhood until you're actually, looking after your physical self.
Exactly. And the urology research totally supports this. They really emphasize upper body strength. Shoulders, chest, back.
Why upper body specifically?
Well, it seems it doesn't just boost how attractive you appear. It also genuinely improves confidence, your posture, long-term health. Basically, how you show up in the world as a partner.
Sticking with that health theme, the urologist, Dr. Blee, had some super specific diet tips.
Oh, yeah. The nuts.
Yeah. To help with circulation, testosterone. He recommends nuts, but you gotta pick the right ones. Walnuts and pistachios get a big thumbs up. High in omega-3s, arginine, good stuff.
Boosts nitric oxide.
Right. But then he actively says steer clear of peanuts and cashews. Apparently they can increase inflammation, sort of work against your goals.
Yeah, that's the kind of detailed biological tip you just don't normally get in relationship advice,
Totally. Okay, so that's the foundation. Self-mastery, physical health. What about actually, attracting someone and vetting them?
Right, moving from fixing yourself to interacting with others. And here, it's really key to understand the difference between what attracts, let's say, lust versus what attracts genuine connection.
Okay.
Our sources are pretty direct here. Money tends to attract women who might be disloyal or maybe emotionally unavailable. They actually use the term investors, not partners.
That's a big claim, especially today. So if a guy is successful financially, how do they suggest he tells the difference between an investor and a real potential partner early on?
It comes down to what else you lead with, your character, your charisma, sense of humor, how you look.
The actual person.
Exactly. Those are the things that spark genuine connection, real chemistry. Someone drawn mainly to that stuff. They're interested in you, not just your wallet.
And the sources were also pretty blunt about what women need to bring to the table, right? To keep a man interested past the first impression.
Yeah, they were. For women, the claim is beauty is essential because men are visual, they respond to it, but, and this is key, it needs to be paired with sex appeal, like in equal measure, to be truly captivating and hold interest long term.
Okay, beauty and sex appeal, got it. And to keep that interest going.
To keep it going, the sources talk about these 3 pillars of female satisfaction. It's like this formula women unconsciously need from a man.
Okay, let's hear them. What are the pillars?
Right. Pillar 1, attraction. Physical, sexual chemistry, that's got to be there.
Okay.
Pillar 2, adoration. So reassurance, feeling loved, getting attention, feeling cherished, basically.
Makes sense. And the third?
Third is admiration. This means she needs to see him as protective, a decent provider, smart, intelligent, and this was highlighted, able to make decisions. Leadership, essentially.
So the takeaway is you need all 3. You can't just, shower her with adoration, but be totally indecisive.
Exactly. If you're, say, great on attraction and adoration, but you lack that ability to lead or make tough calls, the admiration pillar crumbles. And the warning is the relationship will just slowly end.
Wow. Okay, so that naturally leads into vetting, right? Choosing wisely.
Absolutely. And the core message here is prioritize loyalty over just, lust or initial chemistry when you're vetting someone.
Easier said than done sometimes.
True. But if you find yourself constantly bumping into women who are disloyal or disrespectful, the sources say the problem isn't just bad luck or the dating pool. It's likely your own engagement and vetting process.
So how do you fix your vetting process then? What's the key?
The absolute critical boundary is never accept the unacceptable. Ever. That willingness to actually walk away from disrespect, that's the only way to command respect in return. And they strongly advise against trying to fix someone.
Oh, yeah. Why is that?
Find someone who's already, quote, self-regulated. Someone with good morals already built in. Because the argument is, if they have deep issues from their past, poor self-control, it will eventually surface and affect you. Don't sign up for that project.
Choose wisely from the start. Okay, that makes sense. Let's shift into dynamics within the relationship itself. Conflict, respect, that kind of stuff.
Yeah, and this next part gets into how respect really operates, particularly for women in relation to men. They use this kind of interesting corporate analogy.
Okay.
The argument is women submit to men they respect. Think about it like submitting to a really great manager at work, someone competent who knows their stuff, who you trust. You naturally defer to their judgment.
Right, not some erratic boss you can't rely on.
Exactly. So submission here isn't passive weakness, it's recognizing and trusting competent leadership. But it also involves intellectual honesty from a man.
How so?
Well, women apparently need a man who's intelligent enough to recognize when her stories or her behavior don't quite add up. If a man just sort of naively believes everything she says without using any discernment or critical thinking, paradoxically, she might start to feel smarter or more powerful than him. And that can actually lead to manipulation down the road.
Wow, okay. But the reverse is true for men, isn't it?
Yeah, conversely, the sources suggest a man loves a partner who kind of naively believes in him, sees her as his biggest fan, someone who trusts his competence almost implicitly.
That's a really stark contrast in how validation and trust work for each gender in that dynamic.
It really highlights it. And this failure, maybe, to set boundaries or use discernment, it brings us to these 2 archetypes that are apparently prone to toxic relationships.
Yes, the nice guy and the codependent one.
Bingo.
Let's break down the nice guy first. What's the profile there, according to these sources?
Okay, so the nice guy, often described as someone who may be disconnected from his father figure, over-identifies with his mother. He tends to seek constant approval from women, and he's usually passive, non-confrontational, like avoids conflict at all costs, even when a boundary is needed.
Got it. And the codependent woman, what drives her dynamic?
Her main driver is usually a deep fear of abandonment, so she clings, latches on really tight, which ironically often creates that exact suffocating feeling she's afraid will push her partner away.
Vicious cycle.
Totally. And the key thing for both these types, they attract partners who also have trauma, and crucially, they fail to set clear deal breakers from the start. So they end up accepting unacceptable behavior right from day one. It's like they're trying to earn love instead of commanding respect and choosing someone worthy of it.
Okay. And when conflict does inevitably come up, there was a really useful distinction made between being emotional and being vulnerable.
Yes, super important difference.
What is it?
Women generally want a man who can be vulnerable, meaning he can share his feelings, share thoughts, be open. That builds trust and trust. But they tend to be repulsed by a man who is emotional in the sense of being dysregulated.
Yeah.
You know, having these huge, disproportionate, maybe chaotic reactions to things.
So vulnerability shows strength and trust, but that kind of emotionality shows a lack of self-control.
Exactly. One is sharing from a place of strength, the other is reacting from a place of chaos. And for you listening, if confrontation makes you nervous, if you worry about crossing that line,
Yeah. Any tips?
the simple advice offered is start your sentences with I feel, instead of you always come home late. I feel lonely when you come home late. It shifts from accusation to just sharing your internal state. Makes it way less confrontational, more productive.
That's a great practical tip. Okay, let's move into the final section. Intimacy and sexual health.
Right. And here the sources are pretty blunt again. For men, regular sexual contact is described as crucial, almost like a psychological drug for them.
A drug? Wow.
Yeah, similar in importance maybe to how consistent affection and emotional connection are for many women. It's presented as a core need.
And they back this up with an observation about affairs, right?
They did. It was interesting. They noted that when a man is having an affair, quite often, his sex drive with his actual wife just plummets, stops completely. Now, if men were purely driven by a need for variety, biologically polygamous, you'd think they'd maintain intimacy with both, right?
Logically.
The fact that the drive often shuts down for the primary partner suggests that the loss of attraction isn't just biology. It's often tied directly to resentment in the relationship. Maybe those respect dynamics we talked about being broken.
It's about the connection and the feeling, not just the physical act itself.
Precisely. It links back. Now, shifting to the urologist's data, Dr. Blake really stresses that quality of intimacy matters way, way more than quantity or size.
Yeah, yes, the elephant in the room. Let's tackle the size myth. What does the actual clinical data say?
Okay, so the studies they cited show the average vaginal length is around 9 to 10 centimeters. That's about 3.5 to 4 inches. And the finding is most women actually prefer average size. Good intimacy, good sex. It's about communication, care, connection. It's not really about anatomy.
So the urologist is basically saying, can we please put that old myth to bed?
Officially, yes. Focus elsewhere.
Okay, that's probably a relief for many. So, if size isn't the main thing, what defines quality then? Did they offer specific techniques?
Yeah, for advanced technique, especially around oral sex, there were clear guidelines. It's a slow climb, not a race.
Okay.
They suggested like a 3-step approach and really emphasized consent check-ins during. Asking simple things like softer or firmer makes the partner feel involved, guiding the experience.
Active participation. Got it. What about kinkier stuff? Edgy play, that comes up a lot these days. Any safety guidelines there?
Yeah, the rule was really strict on this. It must be based on agreed language beforehand, and it has to be explicitly opt-in.
No surprises.
Absolutely no surprises. And definitely don't try anything new or intense if anyone's intoxicated or distracted. That's a recipe for disaster. And crucially, these kinds of practices, they're meant to enhance or magnify what's already good in a strong relationship. They are not tools to fix deep wounds or try to artificially create attraction that isn't there.
Right. They amplify, they don't repair. Makes sense. Okay, one last piece of practical advice, especially for older daters. Men over 50.
Yeah. The urologists offer this really practical safety net called the 90-day safety framework, designed to protect your integrity and clarity.
Okay, 90 days. What are
Super simple. For the first 3 months, give no money. Avoid avoid co-signing anything, and fiercely protect your personal anchors.
Anchors, like what?
Your sleep routine, your exercise, your hobbies, your close friends, the things that keep you grounded.
Yeah.
And during that time, you need to consciously track reality, look for patterns, emotional crises, request for help, not just go by how you feel. It helps you stay objective and avoid getting taken advantage of by someone who might not be well-stable or well-intentioned.
That sounds like solid advice for anyone, really. So when we tie all these threads together, self-control, health, vetting, dynamics, intimacy, it really feels like it all comes back to the self, doesn't it?
It absolutely does. What's really striking is how often these big relationship problems, issues with loyalty, conflict, even intimacy fading, they seem to trace back to baseline self-esteem and, critically, the choice to accept or tolerate poor behavior. It's like the quality of your relationships is almost a direct reflection of how well you know yourself, respect yourself, and uphold your own boundaries.
So what's the bottom line here for you, the listener? It sounds like success in relationships today isn't about chasing external stuff so much.
Right. It's more about taking real accountability for your choices, continuously investing in your own internal state, your health, your discipline, your boundaries. That seems to be the core work. Your vetting process really needs to start and end with your own self-respect.
Instead of just obsessing over, I don't know, a partner's job title or how they look.
Exactly. And maybe here's a final provocative thought to chew on based on all this.
Okay.
The sources seem to suggest many men end up in toxic situations because they prioritize, well, lust over loyalty when they choose a partner, just going for the initial spark.
Right.
And conversely, women are often judged and judge themselves primarily on beauty, which, let's face it, is guaranteed to fade, instead of focusing on character, conduct, mentality, the things that actually last forever.
So the question becomes, which standard are you actually holding yourself and others to? The one that fades or the one that's permanent?
That's the question to ponder.